That is how you get 30 years of working with somebody. Is just work through the disagreement.
We depend on each other to keep surviving well.
So the point is, one of the things that people struggle the most in the game of business is finding the right partners to work with. Like, they try to do it by themselves. They never get the collaboration going, and they're never able to do what you guys have done. You guys have broken the standard. 30 years in business. Like, my first question to you would be, maybe Jim, you can start, or Tom, whatever you guys think, like, how the heck have you pulled it off? I've heard you speak on your seminars. I know what you say, but I do want to hear it because we can get thousands of people to like watch this and know what they're looking for. First thing is, what are you looking for before you make a big decision on like, I'm going to get married to this guy or this girl is going to be a partner of mine? Then how do you keep it for so long, especially you two being two powerful alpha males? How did you get that, Jimmy?
Well, I can say that this doesn't just occur. I mean, it has been work. We were young, very opinionated men that wanted to be, we had our opinions, and there's no simple answer. You know what I mean? You just got to find the right guy. Okay. You got to find the right person. You really have to make it and create it and want it to work. And, I would, for my part, probably what we had was this, there was an overlying desire to really do better. That was what kind of drove us. And everybody's got shortcomings. I've got them, okay? You can certainly point mine out all day long, and you could sit there and kind of only focus on what you see wrong with somebody, or you could focus on what's right about what they do and who they are. And then how do I complement that? How do I grant beingness to that? And then on the shortcomings, I can cover that. I got that, okay? And vice versa. I've got shortcomings, okay? And I could list examples for the next hour of the shortcomings I have that he's picked up. And, it's just been something that we've continuously worked at. And we fought in the early years. Man, did we fight, okay?
So you had some explosive moments. You definitely
maybe a couple, okay? But our church helped us a lot. We had common goals in mind. We wanted to do well for ourselves and our families and for our employees. There have been times when we had no money. He and I went without a fucking paycheck for what? The worst was a couple months, several months, no money to make sure the staff were paid. And, we had an overlying responsibility to our group. So that was always pushing beyond that. Then when we began to succeed, really defining the hats, we grew up, and I think we're probably more mature in defining, okay, what's each one of us going to do? What is our role? And then how do we help each other out? Because Tom's success is my success. The more successful I can make him, I know I'll be more successful. So I put a lot of attention on making sure he succeeds. How do I make more money than both of us can waste? So, that's the 5-minute answer.
30 years is a long time, right? So it's definitely like a whole life.
Several lives.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, obviously, you guys have gone through a lot. That moment when you guys decided we're gonna do something together. I know it didn't happen overnight. I know you guys spent years. What was that moment in which you said, or he said, why don't we do this together?
Well, you know what? Okay, well, there was one of these, I'll call it points of necessity, right? For the first, 1 year, 2 years, I don't know what period of time it was, but it was a good amount of time. Jim was a staff member, employee. He's an executive in the company. He ran my relationship with our customers that we sold for, right? And he was really doing great on that. He owned the area. And I left. I took a sabbatical where I was going to become a staff member in my church. I wanted to go, I call it a tour of duty. It's a 2.5-year contract. It was something that I wanted to do for myself, kind of pay it back, so to speak, right? And I thought I could do both jobs. I thought I could still be the president of the company. I felt I could do the staff member hat. I really thought I could go do that. And after about a month on post, I went, it's bullshit. It's not true. You need to be dedicated to this company. Wear that hat. It is a full-time hat. And doing this other thing that I was doing at the church, it was a full-time hat. There's no way I could do both of these and do them well. So I had to make a decision. I needed to give someone my job. Basically, he was the one, right? I just did a look across my organization. I go, there's only one person working for me right now I could give these duties to.
Which is a great point. In his case, he worked his butt off to prove himself that he was that guy for you.
Yeah, it was a stable person for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good
So he
com
was-
cycle. It was there. You know, we were friendly. We believed in a lot of the same things, have different views. And he knew the business, and he'd shown executive skills and stuff like that.
So it was a no-brainer.
So, well, you know what? It was funny. It wasn't like, they say the last man standing. It was the only man standing. He was the guy, right? It was like so obvious, right? It was like, okay, so pass the baton to him. And then I disappeared for 2.5 years. I was gone, and it was over to you, dude. And I think we had comm cycles and we talked and we were communicating and whatever, but I was consumed by being a staff member. So moving forward, fast forward 2.5 years, my contract comes up. I do not want to do it again. I want to go back to the working world. And so we go through this transition thing, and I tell this joke, and it wasn't funny at the time. I come back to the office and said, okay, I want my job back. And he told me to go piss off. I'm not giving it to you. And I'm like, okay, what do I do with that comm? There was a point of awkwardness, right? It was really, because he was still doing his job. He had a job, he had his duties, he was doing it well, right? I had to come up with, what is my skill sets? What are I'm capable of doing? What do I have going on that I can do that can push power to the group? Basically comes by, I'm highly able, whatever reason, I have a skill set of creating organizational lines, putting a person there, putting a terminal there, padding them, building a line, putting something there, setting this thing up, establishing it, and then go, good, here you go. So we have this saying, I make the better race car, he goes and wins races with. There was that metaphor there, So I'm the establishment organizing officer. He's the production officer. He would get the production, and I would then I could go back up and still be an executive. Still, what it was, feel worthy, feel like I get to contribute to the motion. I'm not just sitting there being something that hangs on and rides on the back of it. I could, like he set up a call center in Italy, and I sit there and I go, okay, here we go again. So go in there. Okay, so how do we put the lines on it? How do we go in there and put the training and get these guys going in there, and just behind the scenes stuff of like, how do you get it so he has something to push on? I give him that thing to push on, and he gets to be his hat, his doing this. How does he run that machine, but he has that machine for which to run, right? And actually very highly complementary. It allows me to have my greatness, allows him to have his greatness. He's a fucking amazing product officer, demands production and really pushing on it. And it's a really great yin and yang of putting there. I get to do what I do, he gets to do what he does.
Wow. So what happens when you have a viewpoint and he doesn't agree with it, or vice versa?
Oh, that's never fucking happened.
No. You know what? And I go over it in the seminar, and then if there's a disagreement, and they're not explosive anymore, there are viewpoints, and you have to take the attitude. It really begins with the attitude. The man is sane. The man is intelligent. You have all of those characteristics that are there, and he has a viewpoint or a consideration. Okay, help me understand what you're thinking. Okay, and then there's this thing called two-way communication. So we just communicate, always just communicate through. Every time you end up, you go, oh, okay, I get it. I didn't quite understand that element, or vice versa. And so I just never let, probably 10 years, just don't let any kind of disagreement sit there. Because that is how you get 30 years of working with somebody, is just work through the disagreement and be willing to assume they're intelligent, assume you chose them as your business partner, you chose them as they're intelligent, they have the ability to observe, all of those things are there, okay, and you disagree. What are you not seeing? If it's a sane solution, then you should arrive about at the same place. And every time we do that, it handles. Literally like that.
In addition to that, and he is right, in agreement there, there's also the other part of you got to decide you want to pick your battles. So if all of a sudden he says this plane should have cream color tablecloths, right? I'm like, well, I think it'd look better if they were white. Really? Does it matter? Does it matter? Really? Really, how important is that? There's something that he has a desire for. He has an element, or I'll look at things. There's been times where, he says, look, I want to go blah. And I go, I got it. I get the why you want to go do it. Don't think it's right. Don't think it's the right idea. But dude, give it a fucking shot. Just give it a shot. It's live your life. Go ahead. See what it was. Maybe it'll work. I don't think it will. Maybe it won't. Whatever. It comes down to, that is where the grinding the beingness comes.
Yeah.
He is being the the president. He is in there. He's watching. He has his viewpoint. Now, if it's like I think, what you call it, would put us in harm's ways, you got to communicate. You got to be like, hey, dude, literally, seriously. And I'll tell you, one of the things too, like for example, this is what you would call a public environment. You got a camera going on, all this place, we're in an airplane, whatever. This is not where you discuss shit. You go there, you get a smoke, you go out, you have a private conversation. Look, I want to bring up blah, blah, and where it's comfortable. When it's his turn to do it, I don't feel rushed, I'm well rested and well fed, that whole viewpoint.
Yeah.
You got to take responsibility. If you're going to go in there and touch something that can be sensitive, be intelligent about it.
I seen that from you just yesterday. You walk that talk, that example, because we were on a drive on the way back, and you wanted to tell me something about my presentation.
Right.
And you were like, and then you stop yourself.
Right.
Okay, I'll tell you, we're going to smoke a little bit, a little bit. And then we sat down, we smoked our cigar, and then you originated what you wanted to originate.
Right.
And it was just you and me, right?
Private.
So, yeah, it's something that I've learned from you, right? Because it's like you got to recognize what to say or not to say, protect the relationships and so on. It's very, very valuable.
No, we all have feelings. This is the whole point. Where do you think friendships are based on? How you feel. There's some people you don't like. Well, what is that? It's a feeling. They've done stuff that irritate you, right? And it's a responsibility that, this is an interesting thing. My survival is dependent upon him. His survival is dependent upon me. Dependent. We depend on each other to keep surviving well. So there's a lot of responsibility in that. And it comes by is if I need to do something, the element there is that time to take attention of is this the right time to have that communication? And if it isn't, don't do it. Just pause it until it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you told me the point, and it was like, that's a good point. I like it. Thank you for sharing that. My takeaway from listening to you guys talk, for anybody that's watching this video and they're looking for that person, that terminal to build something great, dependent collaboration, dependent power on each other. If you're a leader like Tom was back in that day, observe in your environment to see who that star is around you that's stepping up the game, that you can tell, okay, this guy, I can come and do things with it.
Okay, so yes, he did see me, but I also grabbed it. It wasn't like, okay, I had to go, I went to Tom and go, I want a piece. I'm done making other people wealthy. Okay, cut me in.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like I was sitting there waiting for him to originate.
It doesn't come to you. You have
No,
to
I
go
went
and fight for
I
it.
grabbed it. So at the time there were 5 partners, 5 or 6.
Yeah, we had to close that down and
then
reopen it back up.
And they all kind of went by the wayside over the years.
So you worked your butt off, and you seized the opportunity, and you went to go grab it.
Yeah.
And in Tom's case, he was at the top. He saw who was around, and then he, obviously, it just happened.
No. So you had Tom was the CEO. You had a president who went away. Okay. Tom picked up her job, and the other guys went away. So there were left 3 of us. And then I asked, hey, cut me in, and I got a small percentage of the business at the time. And then Tom joined staff.
And you build up.
Right, okay, and he couldn't do the other activities and be on staff at the same time. So that's when he goes, okay, him and Bob, let's just give you the job, and so he could go and focus on doing that work.
That's great.
And that was how it went. But sitting back and waiting for someone to give it to you has never been my
way of operating.
No, and it's not been a formula or an element inside my success on a personal level.
Right. There you go.
So
go out there and get your own success, build it, find people to work with, find people to collaborate and push power to each other. That's how you win.
that's it, kind of.
Now it is time to eat.
Manjo.